morning, keyboard cowboys. It's one of those mornings. Mornings when you get out of bed, you wish somebody of your preferred gender would show up, put a hand on your chest, push you back down to bed and say, "No, it's okay. Don't worry. You don't have to do anything today." I'm not saying you would do anything with them, it'd just be nice to not do anything out of bed.
It's one of those mornings when it's too much work to make yourself a real breakfast, so you just pour some granola or cereal and eat. You hope that there's enough nutrients or protein in that, but probably not. It's one of those mornings when even the TV isn't mind-numbing enough for the mind-numbing morning you've got going on. It's one of those mornings when you'll just stare outside the window and not care if anyone thinks you're weird in your underwear.
So yeah, it's one of those mornings. The Pappy Tube writes, "I'm beginning to worry where I'll get my news from once the Great Adventure is over. Silly Pappy, the Great Adventure isn't the news. It's everything. The meaning of life is kind of outmoded, don't you think? I don't know about you guys, but every way I look at it, there's no real way to say what's going on. Everybody's so convinced of their own opinions and ideals that it's hard to find the truth in the matter. Sure, there are some basic things that people can agree on, but otherwise it's all a smorgasbord of thought food. It all looks tasty, but you can't eat all of it. So why bother exploring the meaning of life? Come on, that's so old." Life. That's so retro. Let somebody else figure out the meaning of life. I'd rather explore the meaning of living, and that is the Great Adventure. But what does that mean, to explore the meaning of living? I guess what it's really about is us figuring out our own meaning of living. For me, exploring the meaning of living means investigating those conversations I have in my head, between myself and people who I've only imagined. Granted, these imaginary entities are actually people I know, but different versions of them. Not quite close to reality. But we all do that, right? We all imagine we could have said this or that, or what would happen if we did this or that. We imagine how our relationship is with that person right now, what they're thinking, what we're thinking. We imagine that even though we're far apart, somehow our thoughts will intermingle and collide. Based on this weird kind of fantasy, we make our own relationship with that person that's one-sided. But the truth is, the real person to that imaginary version you have of them could have changed within the past year, or month, or day. So when you bring your side of the imaginary relationship to their side of the imaginary relationship, funky things can happen. You might have assumed that you guys were closer than that, and they might have assumed that you're not. So how do we keep it from happening? Well, maybe we just need to give people more credit. Appreciate that we can't understand what they're really all about when they're not here. Stop creating those fantasy conversations in our head which are so satisfying regardless of whether they're positive or negative. And while we're at it, let's stop dwelling on past conversations which only exist in the past. Actually exploring the meaning of living means a lot of things to me, and I'm sure it does to other people as well. And that meaning of living can change throughout your lifetime, and probably will. But if there's one thing I know for sure, the only thing we can explore is now. In the news, a British cat has become bionic with fake paws, Dick Cheney is now in the hospital, and people in China are still dying from floods. This is Way on the Great Adventure.